You get a crazy wife, it's going to ruin your life.
I'm not impressed with the people who are young and in love.
I feel like I wish more men would do that.
I mean, there is this business that we run, our family, but we're not business partners.
You're listening to Let's Get Knotty,
a podcast for real talk and honest conversations about all things relationships and marriage, the good, the bad, and the naughty.
Whether you're already married, almost married, or wanting to get married, we're here to help you build a solid foundation for a love that lasts. Let's get naughty, y'all.
Welcome back. Today we've got another amazing couple on the show. I love having these conversations with couples. It's so fun to just get to dive into other people's marriages and hear the ins and outs of how other people have navigated marriage and life together. So today we have Matt and Lana Sullivan. MattLana, as we have officially dubbed them.
MattLana. That's their new couple.
That's their new couple name. So Matt and Lana live in North Carolina. They've been married for 10 years. They have a full house with 4 kiddos under the age of 8. Yeah, full house. Matt practiced physical therapy for 5 years after school, and we'll talk in this episode about his decision to leave physical therapy and go into full-time ministry and how they paid off $80,000 of student debt in 2.5 years. Lana is a homeschool mom, and she runs a platform called Girl Teach Me, where she helps equip women in faithful womanhood. So I am a huge Lana fan of everything she's doing online in equipping women. So that's how we know each other, and got to have them on the show.
Yeah, and it was fun. I feel like they had a lot of just practical tips on how to do marriage well, and we just loved how tangible a lot of these things were. Yeah,
you guys are gonna love this conversation. We talk about the very practical and tangible tools they've used to work as a team in their marriage, in everything from paying off their debt to parenting, to just navigating life as a team. So let's dive on into our conversation with the Sullivans. Well, Matt and Lana, thanks so much for being here. We're so glad to have you guys on the podcast.
Yeah, welcome, Sullivans.
So you just asked how to say Cashmere's name, but I have to keep reminding him how to say your name, Lana, because I feel like for half of our friendship, I was saying it wrong.
Yeah, I went through all of kindergarten being called Atlanta, but it's Lana like Lana Banana. So, yeah.
Yeah, when we were dating, I had a solid week of just trying to pronounce her name correctly so I wouldn't screw it up.
That's awesome. And that's how I had to start doing it. Using your city/Twitter handle was @Lana. That was helpful.
Well, then we realized that you're MattLana.
Oh my gosh. You guys have a couple name. It's MattLana.
We've never heard of that.
We've never put that together. That's amazing.
Okay, we know you guys met in college, right? So I feel like we've got to start with your love story. Tell us more about how you met and how you started dating and how you got married.
Yeah, okay. So we did meet in college, but I'm older than Matt. So I was in grad school, and I got to Knoxville and UT, in Knoxville, not the UT Texas. We like to say the real UT, but you guys are in Texas, so you probably bet differ. So I got to grad school, and I knew nobody. And so I reached out to a local ministry called Crew, and they have Athletes in Action. And I was like, I don't know anybody. I would love to come hang out with you guys. And so I went to the first meeting, and then Matt was there. But the problem was Matt looked like you were 18, and I was in grad school. So I was not into it. He looks so young. If you shave off this facial hair, baby, looks like a total baby.
Yes.
And he had some different style back then. So I wasn't into it. But
no, let's own it. I had puka shells, your white K-Swiss shoes. All the great stuff back then.
Yeah, and your hair was gelled straight down.
Yes.
It was really special. But I started watching him, and I watched him at our leadership meetings, and I watched him before and after our little ministry meetings, and he was always there early setting up, and he was always staying late, breaking down the coolers and the pizza and stuff like that. And so I was just impressed with him. I was just impressed with the way he served. And we started hanging out and playing tennis, and we always hung out with one friend. Her name's Katie. And she's getting married next month. So we're so excited for her. But we always hung out with her. And he kept talking to Katie about me. finally I confronted him and I was like, why don't you talk to me? And he's like, I've tried to. I've texted you and asked you the movies, and you're always like, who else is coming? And he's like, you won't go on a date with me.
Yeah, I was solidly in the friend zone. Not just a little bit, like 2 feet.
Right before that, though, I had found out that he was actually 21. And that totally changed things.
Oh, yes. I remember how much it changed things that we were at Fuddruckers. I don't even know if that restaurant still exists.
I don't think it still exists.
And there was a bunch of us going on and eating. Dad was across the table, said, "Oh, Matt, happy 21 birthday." And I looked over at Lana, 21st, sorry. And I just like saw the wheel spinning. I was like, uh-oh, okay, what's going on here? There's something happening.
Yeah. So we finally went out, and I was just going to tell him still that like I loved being his friend, but I wasn't interested.
Yeah, but it was a highly, highly romantic date. It was at this place called the Knoxville Pearl, which is a cereal bar.
It doesn't exist anymore.
It does not exist anymore. So you pay $5.
Like breakfast cereal.
Like breakfast cereal. And they had all the good stuff.
Like the oldies.
Yes, waffle crisp, everything.
Yeah.
$5,
oh my
all
gosh.
you could eat.
That's a genius idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, they knew their audience too. They stayed open till like 3 a.m., had lasers and smoke and a bunny going through destroying downtown Knoxville.
I don't know why we went there. I mean, we've never stopped in.
I love cereal. I love it. I'm a secret diabetic in heart. Like I love cereal.
That's terrible. Oh my gosh.
So that was our highly romantic date.
Yeah, ice cold milk. It was great. And so, so we were like, okay. And he talked first. And when he talked and just told me his heart and like what he saw in me and what he hoped that we would be, I just was like, okay, never mind. I am interested. So
that's funny. It changed for you so quickly.
It did change really quickly. It was like, I was really big into journaling at that point. I mean, I was a single girl and I just filled up volumes of journals. And I feel like he had just been reading my journal. Like he just had said exactly what I had hoped for. And so I was like, okay, so I'm going to give him a chance. And that's really how our love story began.
Because after there we walked out together holding hands because she was going to say no, but we walked out holding hands. And we go to meet Katie and we go in the door and Katie's like, what? Whoa, what's going on here? I did not expect
Yeah, because I was going to meet Katie after I turned him down, but then I walked in holding his hand. So so it all changed from there.
Okay, you changed your mind.
Yeah, she was like, whoa, what's happening? Yeah.
So that's my question is, what did happen? Like, Matt, what was the magic words?
Well, you'll see that in my first book that comes out. That's what the book is.
You're joking.
Yeah, I'm totally joking. It was a long, the easy way to describe it is the Lord had been working to me for years about what it was to be a man and to be a Christian man and where I wanted to be as a Christian husband and what I look for in a Christian wife. And that's one of the things I'm passionate about is like teaching my boys what to look for in what they need to be as a man, but then what they need to look for as a wife. And
they're like 6 and 8, and he really has these conversations with them.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so
for a second, I thought you were talking about like in your pastoral care, like like the boys.
No, those are my children.
No, you mean like your children. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, she's like, you get a crazy wife, it's going to ruin your life, guys. So like, you need to be looking for a good woman. I think you just had that talk this morning over breakfast.
Yep.
Yeah, so
totally did. So it was just this is my heart. This is what I'm looking for, and this is what I see in you. Because as she saw me, I saw her. I saw her pouring into a lot of girls who were. We met. We were all on the leadership team, and I saw her how she poured not only into the people who were in undergrad on the leadership team, but also just within the ministry because there was about 100 to 150 people.
We were all with athletes. So I was working with the softball team at UT. He was working with the football and baseball team because I thought I wanted to be a college coach, and I did that for a little while. So we were trying to pour into athletes. That was like the ministry we were doing. So
that's right.
Yep.
I love that. I love that you just came out like from the first date, like, hey, here's what I'm looking for in marriage. Here's what I see in you. Like that's bold. That is definitely like not what you see culture, talking about in how to date and how to approach dating. And that's amazing that Lana, that had that effect on you to take you from like, okay, I'm not interested to like, oh wait, I'm totally interested.
I wish more men would do that. I wish more men would like be bold and say what they're looking for. Cause I think as women, I mean, maybe that would scare some women off, but like, I think a lot of women are like waiting for guys to DTR or waiting for guys to like, I don't know. So I really appreciated it.
What was that look for? Casher gave me.
I'm just like laughing because
because you didn't do that.
I was not ready when we dated, and so like Matt, like,
well, y'all
just
had a
major
bad first
props.
date, right?
Oh, we had a horrible first date,
and then we dated really poorly, like just not well, off and on, like just it was not pretty for a couple of years.
I was scared of relationships and like trusting someone.
You kind of did the opposite of Matt
for the
first 2 years.
That's why I'm laughing. So major props to Matt.
Seriously.
So how did that? So like how did things move after that? Because that's a very bold and like that's a kind of like a tone setter for
I'm guessing you like jumped into dating pretty seriously off that.
Well, we were friends for a while. We were probably friends for how many months?
Oh man, at least 6 to 8. So that laid a very solid early foundation on top of that, and then from there, we say it was redemptive. When we dated in the past, other people, Christ was not at the center. We'll say that, and this we put Christ at the center. We did it the right way, and
barely. We tried really hard.
It was a white knuckle event at times. It was redemptive, and so we tried to hang out in couples a lot, and put as many boundaries and stuff up that we could, and it just went step after step, slowly. But we were already friends, and that was the core and the foundation. We just built on that.
That's good. Friendship is a great place to start.
How long were you guys dating then before, and like when did you guys get engaged?
We dated, like I said, 10 to 11 months, and I proposed the day after my birthday because we're a year and a half apart, and I didn't want to be, example 20 and she's 22. I want to be 21 and she's 22.
Well, you were 22 and I was 23, I think.
Yes, it was right around there. So we proposed the day after my birthday, and I proposed down in Furman at the Rose Garden down there. Got her family in on it. We were all down there. She was having a alumni softball game. Yeah. Side note, she like crushed her former team as the alumni coming in. And she's pretty impressive that day. So proposed in the Rose Garden. There was a whole slew of people like hiding in the bushes and everything. It was really neat.
Yeah.
And then read scripture, and
like when I said yes, all these people came out of the bushes because it was right by the cafeteria. They were like, yes!
Like a round of applause.
And I didn't know that any of those people.
You had no idea they were there.
I thought I was going there for like family pictures. So we dated 11 months, and then we were engaged for 7 months.
Correct. Yes, we were engaged 7 months. 7 months, and we're big proponents of small, shorter of engagements. And
it just made things so much more real and like intense. And for us, we were like, we don't need any more of that, so we just kept it short.
Yep.
Look, y'all, with divorce rates near 50%, there is no question getting married is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make.
That is why we created Ready to Knot, our premarital course to help you build a solid foundation for a lasting marriage.
You'll take the world's leading relationship assessment, get a personalized report on the strengths and growth areas of your relationship, and watch lessons where we help you understand your results and give you tools and exercises to grow in 9 different areas.
This is designed to give you structure to have the important conversations you need to have and to get clear on your expectations in everything from finances to family, conflict, sex, roles, faith, and so much more.
Research has proven that investing your time in a course like this will increase your marriage success rate by 30%. Don't just prepare for your wedding day. Invest time preparing for the lifelong marriage that will follow it.
And if you're already married, can we just say that this would make an amazing wedding gift? With Ready to Knot, we'll help you move into marriage with clarity and confidence.
And a special discount just for Let's Get Knotty listeners, go to knottedmarriage.com/ready-to-knot and use code LGK25 for $25 off. That's knottedmarriage.com/READYTOKNOT and use code LGK25 for $25 off.
Now back to the episode. So when Matt proposed, was that a surprise, or did you kind of know it was coming? Like, what was that like for you, Lana?
oh man, I haven't thought about this in a while, but it was a surprise in the timing, but it wasn't a surprise that it was coming soon because I was like literally like I was like, when are you going to do it? I mean, I didn't say that, but also I was in this really big like feminism struggle. I'll share what I mean by that, but like I was trying. Oh, you're giving me the like,
No,
huh? What's that
I'm
look?
wanting to know.
So I was trying to figure out what to do because I was like training to be a head softball coach in college, and he wanted to go to physical therapy school. So it's really, I mean, it's hard to get a job in the same place that you get into school. So it was one of those things where we were trying to line up our plans, but I wasn't going to just follow him to a city if I didn't have a ring on it. You know what I mean? And so I just was,
Pressure is what that is.
yeah, because I
Yeah.
was like, you know, if we're not going to get married, then I need to go pursue my own thing because I don't know if this is going to work out. And then I don't, I didn't want him to only be trying to apply to the school that I got a head coaching job in. So it was really this big wrestle in my soul where I was like,
Sure.
do I lay down my thing that I've worked so hard for to help him get his thing? Like I wrestled a whole summer over it. I read Elizabeth Elliot's book, Let Me Be a Woman, and just really, really wrestled. And in the end, I was like, if I want to be his wife, then I need to be willing to lay my thing down, but I'm not doing that if we're not married.
Right.
And so,
Yeah, she came back from China, I feel like, and that is when she did an overseas mission trip of summer, and that's when she kind of came back, and we really started having conversations. I knew from very early on, like, you're my one. This is pretty easy, but it got really, really real for me after then, and that's when, the whole trying to sneak to figure out the ring size, you go in, go down there, talk to her dad without her knowing. That's when all that came on, and yeah, it got really real after that summer.
so it was like, it better be coming or
I'm going.
I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's like when you're seriously dating, that's like one of the hard things is that, like at that point you're not like unified and like it. Yeah, that's
he's
a
not
hard
your
time.
husband yet,
Right.
but if you want him to be, like, that's why, and we agree with you generally that like long engagements are just really tough. Like we tell our couples, we counsel a lot of premarital couples, seriously dating and engaged. We tell them all the time, like, engagement is so hard and it's not fun. Like it's really not. There's like, it's exciting and there is a lot of that like romanticized season of just like preparing to get married to the love of your life, but it is so much harder than media and society like lets you know it is. And so we agree that like the longer that season is where you're almost married but you're not yet, it's really tough. So I really respect like your approach, Lana, of like, hey, I want to be his wife, but like what does that look like now and how do I make these decisions before I am? Like that's hard stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I landed on is like, God doesn't ask me to submit to any other man but my husband. So like not my boyfriend, not my fiance, but like my husband. And so that's like where I landed. But I mean, I don't know that I don't think we knew we were doing anything right at the time. We were just like trying so hard. But
so Matt, my question is did you grow the beard out on your 21st birthday? Like how did the beard work? Because
did that do it for her?
I mean, is that kind of like, helped not have such a baby face?
The whole man makeup kind of idea thing.
Yeah,
so, right. The beard actually started when I was doing physical therapy. So after UT, we moved to Los Angeles. So that's a whole nother marriage thing right there. Moving from Tennessee to Los Angeles.
Culture shock.
So I graduated school, still just kept shaved. When I started in home health, so that's where I was going to patients' homes. Normally they're over 70, normally over 80. And so they come in thinking I'm, there to take out the trash. I'm like, sorry, no, I'm your physical therapist. And so, but when I'd have the beard grown out a little bit, that didn't happen. So it was a little bit of like positive reinforcement to have the beard grown. So she loves it now. She calls it, man makeup, whatever you want to call it.
I'm into it. I think I mean, I like when he has it. When he shaves it, I'm like, you shaved it. Why?
Now I'm married to a 21-year-old.
That's not fair. I wish I could just like do one thing and look way younger, but yeah,
Yeah, Molly hates
not
my
fair.
facial hair because I have a true baby
Well,
face to the point
you
where I
don't-
can't actually grow facial
Yeah,
hair.
you don't really have a great facial hair pattern, so you don't grow a very nice beard. You're
yeah.
very handsome with and without it, babe.
Thanks, babe.
Okay, so let's talk about that, like physical therapy school, but now you're not working as a physical therapist. I know that was like probably a big decision for you guys. What did that look like? What led you to leave that? Like, I'm sure that was a hard decision. What did it look like in your marriage to navigate that?
I'm gonna give your side.
Oh man. So you went to school for 3 years. We went to LA to do that. We got into $80,000 worth of student debt for physical therapy, and you practiced for 6 years.
Mhm.
Is it 6 years?
Six
Maybe
or seven,
5.
right around through there.
Yeah. Probably year 3 of him practicing physical therapy, he was like, I think I feel called to like ministry. And I'm like, what? I mean, I was like, you're doing ministry every day with these, geriatric patients. You're going into their home. Like that's amazing ministry. And he's like, no, I feel like called to the local church. And he was like super volunteer. I mean, he was just like there all the time to the point where I was like, you don't have to volunteer like every weekend. He's like, but he just loved it. And
Yeah.
so we were like helping with college ministry and stuff. And he was like, I just really want to do this full time. I went through a long series of heartbreak. I mean, really, I was fine making that big sacrifice because I was expecting a big payoff. And it was not what we had expected. I think PT was not what we had expected. I think obviously the tipping point was like COVID, just, going into geriatric people's homes, basically like suited up head to toe.
That's
I think
a whole another episode.
that burnt him to an absolute crisp
Oh my
at
gosh.
the end.
I can't imagine.
But we just kind of had our hands open for like 3 years. We're like, okay, Lord, like if you do this, great. But I mean, you trudged through like 3 years of just really not wanting to do it. Definitely told him we couldn't transition until we had paid off our student debt. Like just couldn't do that. And so I don't know, that was a really testing time. That was really hard because I was just, number one, I was like kind of angry because, like I said, I had, in my eyes, I had put my stuff aside,
You did.
I did.
Yeah.
And I did coach college softball. It probably wasn't exactly where I wanted to go right out the gate because I felt like I had been groomed I wanted to do D1 and I was coaching D2. It was at the same school you were at. So the Lord opened 2 doors. So it was really clear that's where we were supposed to be. Yeah. But yeah, it was just really hard. I don't know. What was that like for you?
Well, I was in school like, 80 hours a week. So I didn't really get to see her. And then we're away from family. I mean, literally 3 time zones away from our nearest family. So it was really hard. And that really, so you talk about while you're dating, you have the friend foundation. Well, during marriage, I mean, there was nothing to cling on to but each other. We can't go to our families. We're making $30,000 in Los Angeles. It's like, all right, put up or shut up.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So we were blessed to get a little scholarship to go over there, and that paid a little. It was a significant amount, and that helped a lot. So it was a miracle we got out of there, honestly, with 80,000. And looking back, just how the Lord would provide with here's a dollar store that has strawberries, and they have 50 of them. Oh, we're going to buy them all. Just little things like that.
Crazy
where
stuff.
How did we make it? God just multiplied. That's dollars.
Yeah, we did not have very much money at all. That was really hard. But I feel like the Lord really forged something in us during that time. It was like we got away from our family, so we had to figure out what we believed, what our traditions were going to be, what were we going to be about apart from our family of origin. And then we had to cling to each other. We didn't have a lot of money, so we had to communicate about money. We had to get creative. So I just feel like the Lord, it was his kindness, even though it was really hard, it was a kind season. And then we moved back to Tennessee.
Yeah, we had our first child out there. That even made that even more complex.
Wow. So while you were in school, you had your first child.
Wow.
Correct. Yeah, last year of getting my doctorate, had our first child.
Yeah.
And she's coaching softball full time. And we joked that he was the unofficial PT school mascot for a year because he was everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Wow.
Bat Boy, you know.
But I mean, everything.
Yeah.
all the girls toted him around on road trips. Yep.
Oh, I bet. Wow. That's a lot. That's hard. I'm sure I can totally see how you both would be wrestling in that season, like on your own and then together in your marriage. Like Matt feeling called to something different, probably struggling with the emotions of like feeling called, but then not knowing what's best for your family. And then Lana, like I can totally see how you might struggle with that. You said anger, like maybe some level of like resentment, like it's really powerful that you guys were able to walk through that together and come out more unified.
I'm sure there was some low moments in there and some things you did well. Like what were some of the, just in processing that, ways you did well and ways that you know you did do well?
Yeah, I would say just in talking or trying to figure out, it was a lot of me going vertical first. Like, Lord, is this really what you want? Like, holy cow. Like, woof, that's a big change. And then I started with my, kind of the proximity principle of started where I was and just started talking to everyone I knew around. Whether, I had, no joke, 60 to 70 just coffee dates of, hey, this is what I'm feeling. When do you affirm it? And giving them full permission to say no if they didn't. And I just 100% across the board, like, yes, you'd kill this. You'd be perfect at it. And so it started out there. Then it just kept, the circle started widening more and more and more for people. And so eventually it was like, all right, I'm affirmed. I feel vertically. And she felt like, I see it too. And then all the people around us were affirming. And then, so it was, okay, let's actually take steps toward this thing and see what happens. And it's kind of like walking on ice. You're like, oh, I hope it, if it falls through, okay, we get that, we're done there. But that's kind of when COVID started to come around, because we had just finished paying off the $80,000 in 2.5 years, which is so much of our story is revolves around that. And COVID came, and I had just, I was burnt to a crisp. I lost literally 3/4 of my patient load overnight because I worked on commissions. It was, if you see patients, you get paid X amount, whatever type of visit it is. And so that, March came and bam, it just happened. And they saw me as the virus. And it was just a crazy, crazy time where maybe the physical part of physical therapy waned down a lot. It was more of, are you okay? Like, let's talk. You haven't seen another human being in 6 to 8 months. Let's talk about this. That helped me just counseling is all I was doing. And it was pretty crazy times.
I also feel like money too, like money was keeping us in PT, but when the money, when he lost his caseload too, of like his load, it was like, okay, Lord, like you're clearly drying this whole thing up. We felt like this was done, but it was hard to disconnect from that income because, obviously ministry income is not the same as PT income. And so, but I feel like the Lord just turned that off too. So
yeah, we went.
He's like, all right, there's your last excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, we went from making consistently 130 to right around 60, 65. Just bam, just overnight.
Yeah,
so
that was.
Yeah, it was a sharp change. Like, all right, Lord, well, you took that one away.
With like
here we go.
4 kids. Yeah, so yeah.
Well, and what's crazy is it sounds like right before COVID. So is it right before COVID that you guys paid off all of your debt? Because that sounds like incredible timing right there.
Yeah, right. I know.
Yeah, it was incredible timing so it started off, I was making much lower, and we shifted because I'm someone who loves stability, loves the safety. So I shifted into this commission base, which is totally against my grain. And then, so income went way up. Right when we paid it off, literally the first week we paid it off, Medicare changed, and they sent out this massive thing. Hey, we're shifting our pay structure. Basically, PTs, you're not as valuable. So they're whacked 25% off. Then COVID came, whacked another top off. So it was just this. Boom,
so we've never made as much money as we did while we were paying off debt. It was like the Lord providentially turned it way up for us. Yeah. Because we pay off $80,000 in 2.5 years. Like, it was just like, he turned it way up. And then as soon as we paid off debt, he was like, well, that was for that. So,
Oh my gosh, you gotta laugh at the irony sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
that's
oh
amazing.
yeah, for sure.
It was hard. It started out, we made a plan.
Mm.
We looked and said, all right, this is where we want to be, and this is the budget we want to be at. And this started the whole.
Do you remember we went to the Airbnb by the water in the Smoky
Yes.
Mountains, and we found like the cheapest Airbnb we could, and we holed up. It was so cold in January. We brought our youngest baby with us at the time, and we made an Excel sheet and worked backwards on it because we were like, we want to be done with debt by the end of this year. Like we had been paying it off, but we were like, we want it to be done by the end of this year. And we made an Excel sheet for like, if we did this much extra payment, could we be done like by this month or this month? And yeah, we worked backwards.
Yeah, and we were just talking about it before we came on. Is that was the base of what Team Sullivan is now. Like that right there, the getting on the same page, getting on.
The
This
Team
is our
Sullivan
goal.
is our Sunday meetings. That
Yes,
we do.
their Sunday. We call it business meeting, and hopefully we can talk about that in a little bit. But that's where it started with. All right, here's how much we're paying a month. This is how much we're paying a paycheck. This is it's the whole adage of two horses who are trained together pull way more than just one horse, and that's what we became during that time, was two horses trained same direction hard.
Yeah, we made paper chains, and we like cut the chains as a family for every $1,000 we paid off. And so it was really fun. That was like when I first started documenting stuff on Instagram before I started
remember this.
A girl teach me. Yeah, and I would cut. We would all gather together. The kids would be in their PJs, and we cut a $1,000 chain. It felt like really chains coming off.
It really did. What's really neat is we got Dave Ramsey to sign the last one. Like when we cut it, we got him to sign it. So it's special to us a little bit.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's really cool. We just recorded episode 9 of the podcast. We talked about like if you should, and we think you should, like be a team in finances and marriage and be unified in your finances. And we talked about some of the stats of like how finances are truly one of the biggest reasons for divorce and for conflict in marriage, because they're so stressful. It really has the ability to tear you apart, right? To make you like enemies. And so the fact that you guys did exactly what you said of like letting that become something that unified you to operate as a team and like walk in step together towards that goal, that's amazing. That's like so amazing. So what did it look like for you?
We totally did not do it perfect. I mean, we would have a goal, and then I would just have that like pent up feeling like, oh my gosh, I haven't bought the kids new shoes or clothes. And like, obviously they need some of these things, but I would just go rogue at Target. I mean, I would just go to Target for like 10
always
things.
Target.
And I would come
like Molly goes rogue at Target. Yeah.
It's a dangerous place.
That needs to be a tag, right? Like rogue at Target.
It's real. It's so real. I would come home and spend like $300, and Matt's like, okay, like where's that coming from? And I'm like, I don't know. But I got in there and I needed these things. So it would cause a lot of tension, especially during that season. Now I can have a little bit more fun at Target.
Yeah, but overall it just developed our character during that time. When you say no and you flex that muscle, it develops not just a little bit, but a lot of character. A muscle is built over time with repetitions with various weights, and that's what it was. It was over time. Multiple repetitions, various weights of small things to large things. And
I would choose different character development, though. That was not very fun.
I mean, I had student debt just from college, and so we know it's really hard, and
it's a heavy burden.
It's a heavy burden, and Lana, I just want to really compliment you, because as I hear you talking about it, it wasn't like you've used the tone of it was ours, and we had a plan, and especially just like as you're talking about like being a more natural spender and having kids that you need to buy things for, there's a balance there and just partnership. And I just love to hear how you were a partner with Matt, and that it was both of you guys together. And like that's just such a message. Is so many times when couples come into marriage, it's, oh well, these are his finances or my finances. And especially with student debt or any type of debt, it's typically, oh, it's their debt, not our debt. And so I just love that how you guys approached it was a team, and just how you spoke about that.
Yeah.
No, thanks. I'm sure I called it his debt a time or two, but
There were times she did, that's for sure.
but truthfully, we did get it together, and so yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of our money is together. Like,
Yeah.
it's not separated at all. And you know, when I was single, I loved to spend all my money on yoga packages and just whatever I wanted. And then when I got married, it was like, you mean I can't go buy that 10-pack at that yoga studio? And he's like, no, where are we supposed to get that from? But when I was single, it was like, well, I just like won't eat out for like a month.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
I want my yoga package, you know?
Right.
So that's been a huge struggle in marriage, to be like, I have to ask you and then you say no, or you ask me and I say no, and you're like, what? That's my money too.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that like pride comes up so quickly, right? When you feel like that other person is denying you what you think you want or
Yeah.
deserve. That can be really tough.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, so you mentioned that this goal of like paying off your debt helped you guys develop your Team Sullivan business meetings. I love this so much. We want to hear all about it. Talk to us about this.
So when we were paying off debt, we would regularly sit down with an Excel sheet and we would like plug in our new numbers and be like, oh, we'd like see like the goal get closer. So Matt is like a whiz with Excel sheets. I am not. And that is like one of his love languages is to me is like, okay, if you want this to happen, I need to see it in an Excel sheet and I'm not making it. Thank you so much. So he goes and makes the Excel sheet with all of its like bells and whistles and comes back. Well, you know, we were going on dates and we would end up talking about the kids and our plans and the week. And we would talk about money. And it was just like, this is so lame. Like, this is not what I want date night to be. Especially if we've gotten a babysitter, like, listen, we cannot talk about money. It just ended up being kind of tense. And so we decided to have a separate meeting where we like talked about like planned out our week, talked about finances, talked about like our parenting and things that we want to see change. And we try to leave date night as like our fun time to, you know, just enjoy one another. And sometimes money topics still are tense because I still go rogue here or there. And so I don't want to have those conversations on a date. I want to have those conversations in our Team Sullivan. And so we sit down on Sundays. Typically, he has to work 2 morning services and 1 night service. So we sit down in the in-between after lunch at like 2 p.m. The kids we try to make them be quiet and give us a break. Yeah. And so, yeah, we sit down. And then why don't you take it from there? Because you just kind of explained.
Yeah, it started out just going through, organically. Well, what's your goals for this week and different things like that. The initially we struggled with coming in from parenting straight into that talk, and that was really hard transition to make. And about a month and a half ago, we got this devotion, devotions for a sacred marriage, and we open up the time with that. We read it out loud. And it really just resets us. Like, okay.
Well, tell them about. So I've had that in the back of my sacred marriage book. It's in the there's like a section with that. And every time, you guys, I would get so mad at Matt that I literally couldn't talk to him. This is a side note. I would go pick up I would go pick up Sacred Marriage and read one of those devotions, and I'd be like, dang it, just like whip me back into shape, you know? And so when we started doing premarital counseling with a couple, we got the actual like devotion hardback book. And so it's hard to stay mad at each other when we read Gary Thomas. It's like, dang, Gary. Like, and so he's been opening that time up. You pick back up. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. So we started with that, and that kind of realigns us, gets us back in shape, however you want to describe that. And then we talk about first, how was your big 3 from last week? So what the big 3 is, it's what's 3 things we do, 1 personal, 1 with our family, and 1 with our work or business. So she has a big 3, I have a big 3, and we review last week. So this lets us know, because at the end of the time we make a new big 3 for the week. That lets us know, how can I pull you to help you accomplish that, and how can she help me? So just like any Excel sheet nerd, when it populates down here, it populates at the top. So we review our big 3. How was that? How did we win? How did we not win? How was that not expected? And then we go into looking at, how did God provide for this week? And
that is our favorite section, you guys. Some weeks it has been so long, like so many different little things that honestly, from 3 days ago, I totally had forgotten. Like just random provisions. I mean, it doesn't even have to be big. It's just ways we've seen the Lord come through. And when we've started documenting it, we're like, wow, He is
That's beautiful.
taking such good care of us. That's been amazing and then to even be able to look back, almost like to keep a record of how He's been coming through for us. And so when we're nervous about the next step, like, oh Lord, how are you going to come through in this next season? It's like this huge record of like ways
His past faithfulness.
Yeah, past faithfulness.
Yep. So
That's so cool.
we sit down. I mean, that is let's stop, talk about it, really meditate, conversation with each other. Then we look at our upcoming week. We set a goal for the month, so that's kind of in there. But then we look at the upcoming week because there's so much going on. We hate it when something pops up. We're like, oh no.
Like, yeah, like that birthday party a month ago, I totally forgot about. And I think our kids are like half of the party participants.
Yeah.
So I'm like terrified to do that again.
So we look at the week. And it's mainly like us centered. It's not really kid centered, but it's mainly us centered.
Of like what we have going on.
Yes, what we have going on, different events. Oh, we got community group, or I have this, and she has that. This made it on the sheet last week, so we could remember. We had then we go into what was each other's wins. Lana, what was a couple wins you had this week? And Matt, what were a couple wins? Then Lana, what were some losses? Matt, what were some losses to kind of admit that together?
Like almost a time of confession, of like, wow, I've just been like a really, really angry mom this week, and I've just yelled at the kids, and I need to apologize to them, but two, like I need to let you know, like I haven't been a very good mom to your kids this week, so it's something like that.
Yep. And then we get kind of into the financial section of, all right, let's look at our budget. We use every dollar. We think that's great. Making sure everything is dropped in the place it should be. Where's our mortgage at? Where's our investments at? How are we doing on various things? You can put debt or, various things.
They're like, oh, we've got 150 left in the grocery budget. It's like, watch yourself at Trader Joe's next week, like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that. And then we end with, what is your, big three for this upcoming week? Like I said, again, with your personal, what's one win you want to have in your personal life? What's one win you want to have as our family together? Mine has been for the past couple of weeks, just intentional time every day with my kids, whether that's playing football, whether I'm reading Harry Potter to them, just focused, intentional time. And then with work, it's just getting 1% better, reading 30 minutes a day. But, super easy, low-hanging fruit. But that has helped us radically. Just this habit of our marriage is getting just so in line every week that it is way different when we do not have that meeting.
Yeah, we're like a mess when we don't have that meeting, I feel like. And that meeting only takes maybe 20 minutes. I mean, it's so short.
That's one question I was going to ask you. How long? I would have expected
just like
longer,
20 minutes.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. And it
so
helps
easy
too
to
if he's done some reconciling before. Like, I mean, like if he's done every dollar, if I've done every dollar, by the time we get to that meeting, we can just roll right through it.
Yeah. Now, the first one probably might take 40 minutes because you're flexing that muscle that hasn't been used before.
Sure.
But now it's just bang, 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 bang. Not in a we're trying to get this done as fast as we can, but okay, we know where each other is. We can ask questions, and it's fun to bring up last week. Hey, you mentioned this in your win. How's that going? You mentioned this in your loss. Is that another one this week? Or it's really it. I mean, it just makes us a great team. It's what it does.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true that like if you work on a team in a business, like you're going to have weekly team meetings, and like why do we not do that in marriage? Like that's the most important team that you're a part of, and I mean you're on mission together. It's just like a business in that sense. So I love that so much.
Yeah.
I'm like frothing over here.
This is like Molly's dream, and
that's awesome.
We've done like something similar on and off, more on a monthly basis. But
I think and Lana, we've kind of talked about this. I feel like I'm like Matt, and you're more like Cashmere. You and Cashmere are both 8s. I'm the more like organized, structured one. So like the thought of doing this every week like makes me so excited, and for him it makes him like cringe.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
That's a lot.
Lana, is that in you at all? Like, did you struggle more with that or no?
I think I would cringe if I was the one that had to make it happen every week and had to show up with all the details and lead it. Like, maybe if Cashmere had to lead it out, but maybe Molly, you can take the reins on that because I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, I'll be there, but you're making the Excel sheet and you're making sure that it happens. Like I try to set the stage for it and like make sure we have dinner or lunch and all those things. But like
Yeah.
as far as making it happen, it's that guy, not
Yeah,
me.
and I would say, speaking to you, Kashmir, it gives you freedom, or gives her freedom, I guess, during your dates or other times to not talk about that, because you can
That's
make a
so
note
good.
and say,
Yeah.
like a Team Sullivan note or whatever, a note to talk about it and bring it up then, and then it's done. It's going to be talked about. You don't have to bring it up right
Right.
then, and so
Totally.
it gives you a lot of freedom. And we also put it on our TV in our basement where it's visible. We can both see it. We're not like each staring at a screen trying to talk.
Yeah,
That helps, I think, too.
that's true. Because when I was just looking over his computer, I was like, okay, I'm bored. Like, what are you doing? So I have my computer as his computer. He screen shares.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, I think it does help us not fight about money as much during the week too, because I know that he's like, well, we'll talk about it then. Not that I'm in trouble, and it's not like I'm like the rogue spender all the time. It's just it gives us a time and place that it's appropriate to talk about it, not like at 10:30 at night when we're like so tired from parenting. It's just
Yeah,
like
because
not the right
ultimately
time.
we're lovers, we're not business partners.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
So
there is this business that we run, our family, but
Right.
we're not business partners.
yeah,
Right.
And that keeps the main thing is what it does.
Yes.
for us, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. When we first started entrepreneurship together, I was finding that our date nights, like every conversation we had was about work and business, and we were struggling so much to get away from that. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I just need like space. But I think we were just struggling to find the space for that. So because we weren't creating a structured environment, it was just always happening, like it was bleeding into everything because there wasn't separate space for it. And we've gotten better about that.
I'm sure that's exciting to talk about entrepreneurship though. Like, those things are like,
Yes,
oh, you like want to talk about them. So I could see that would totally be a struggle.
totally. And I think I will say, I don't know if this is like a tangent, hopefully it's relevant, but I think I struggled with that in the beginning, and I kind of fell to a place where I was like, okay, it's not that we can't talk about it. One thing I realized is I really enjoy when our date nights, if we're talking about business and entrepreneurship, if it's more like talking about our dreams than it is like the really tangible, like this is what has to get done this week, or like the nitty gritty. Yeah, if it's more of like, hey, like let's talk about this life that we're building together, like that feels fun for a date night. But like talking about the logistics of what has to get done is not fun. So I've kind of landed in that place where in the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, we can't talk about business at all on date night, and now we do often, but we're a little better about it not being like the tough conversations, I guess.
Yeah, and I think, Matt, I think that your point of having appropriate structured conversations and having a format for that does allow, like, it allows you to enjoy time with each other, like when you are in a relaxed environment, and then also to know what each other are doing, and like what's going on in each other's lives. Because I feel like that happens all the time in marriage where, like you don't actually know what's going on in your partner's life all the time super well. And so, yeah, I mean, definitely I think not my strength, but
no, I think that for a while I was trying to implement a pretty structured version of this, and you weren't loving it. I think we've fallen into a rhythm of kind of having the same conversations and like a weekly check-in without it being as structured, so I think we've kind of have some of that rhythm, but I would love to do everything that you guys just described.
One thing that we've seen is that that helps us is visualize each other's goals. It's not just talk about it at that one day. It's writing it somewhere on the wall, on mirror, where it's reminding you what they are, not just that one time a week.
I think too, just like Matt recognized this week, that like when we looked back at the past couple of weeks, like I haven't been good at getting in the word and I haven't been good at moving my body. So he kind of recognized, he's like, I think you're like in a dip, like, you know, you're not moving. So you're kind of getting depressed and then you're not really like motivated to get in the word. Like your fuel isn't there. And so that's really helped him. Like, he's like checking in on me. Like, you know, he's like, hey, did you get in the word today? Like he asked me yesterday. And then for the past 2 mornings, he's like carved out time for me to go out and go for a run and held back the waters of the kids to make that happen for me. But I don't think he would be as in tune with how desperately I need that if we weren't talking about it. Because, you know, so much of our days are spent apart, but he doesn't really know how I'm struggling unless I tell him, especially in this season for us with 4 small kids. It's just sometimes we're getting interrupted so much that like this is just like what's working for us right now so that he can really check in on me, you know, because if I'm not doing well, then what's that saying? I hate that saying sometimes, but if mama's not doing well,
nobody doing well.
The whole house is just kind of,
affected. And that goes back to, you know, another section I forget to mention is your dailies. So we have just 2 or 3 things every day that if you do these, your day's starting off right. And, you know, one of hers is getting out and getting in the word.
I do very similar like questions to what you described in a document like for my business. And I've tried to do it for our marriage and maybe this conversation will help them. I was gonna say,
Matt, if you can get her down to 20 minutes,
that's exactly what I was gonna say. I think
you could literally set a timer.
Yeah, but hearing you say 20 minutes, I think you would be a lot more open to the structure if it wasn't as long. Because I think
AKA 20 minutes and not 2.5 hours.
No, it was never that long. But I know you and I know that shorter would bless you. So I could work on that.
No. Let's work on it.
Guys, thanks so much for sharing. Like that is amazing. And I think so many of the things that you've shared that like clearly have shaped your story in your marriage, like, you know, changing careers and paying off debt and having 4 kids. I'm like, we have no kids yet. I'm just like, I don't even know. I can't wrap my brain around the 4 little ones that are in your household at all times. Like it makes so much sense to me that habit that you guys have built, that discipline, just like you talked about, the like building that muscle, like it makes so much sense that has blessed you guys in all these areas, and you can literally see it in the fruit of your marriage. Like that's super cool.
And Matt, I love that analogy of building that muscle, because that's so much of what we talk about with like being married and doing it well is its patterns and muscle memory and, you know, like whether you're reconciling conflict, but even just like in handling finances or in knowing what's going on in your partner's life. It's like building those muscles and, you know, like you guys have a great workout plan that you guys follow on a weekly basis, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not just about the structure for us. It's not about the now. Our goal is to be the couple that, you know, it's easy to start well, but we want to finish well. We want to be the couple who you see, you know, at the coffee shop, who's, you know, 75 years old, just, you know, love is as strong as ever. I heard it said that, you know, I'm not impressed with the people who are young and in love, you know, when they're teens. It's really the people who are old. When you see them at the restaurant, who are holding hands, looking deeply into each other's eyes, you're like, that's impressive. That's what the goal is for us.
I love that you like have that picture in your mind. Like that's so powerful to have the end goal of a life, like truly a lifelong marriage, like to actually just paint that picture for yourselves of like, hey, we're going to be old and gray and holding hands in a diner. I love that. It's really powerful.
That's a great image.
So one of the questions that we love to ask our guests is what's on your naughty list, which for us is the KNOTTY list. And these are things that you use like in your marriage as tools to help y'all thrive in your unity in your marriage. And I feel like this entire episode, you guys told us what's on your naughty list. Clearly, your Team Sullivan meetings is on there. Do you guys have anything else that would come to mind for you?
I mean, just for our marriage, it is big when I go work out. We've seen when I don't, that stress, that physical stress builds up. So basically me getting up and going to work out at 5 a.m. totally changes not just our marriage, but how I interact with the kids. So having a firm physical outlet 2 times a week is really big for me. So that sounds minor, but to us it's major to get that physical outlet for both of us.
Yeah, so that, and then we've been trying to put our phones to bed at like 9:30. I mean, it certainly could be sooner, but like 9:30, 9, and just have some time together, like in the bed. We definitely go to bed at the same time. I hear about couples that go to bed at different times, and I just knew at the beginning of our marriage, I was like, I don't want, like, I just was like, we're not doing that. Even when he was studying for a test, he would still, well, he's just like next level studier. I'm a crammer, I'm a last minute person. But he was really faithful even during PT school to go to bed at the same time as me. So I think that's been a secret sauce for us too, is then we're like on a similar schedule.
Matt, I love how you mentioned like something that you need to care for yourself and your physical body helps you to show up better in your marriage and for your family. And I think oftentimes we kind of neglect that when we think about our marriages. We don't think about just like, what do I need to be my best self to show up well for you and for our family.
I love that. Like, Matt, you mentioned this earlier, just like giving space so she can go work out, like take the kids, and that's just really cool. And I mean, we were just in Europe for like 2.5 weeks, and we didn't buy cell phone plans, and so we just had like Wi-Fi every once in a while. But just being disconnected from your phone it really does create a lot of opportunity to connect. And that was something that
I like can't even wait to hear about your trip. Like I can't, I bet you guys had so many dream chats, and just you guys have probably come up with a whole new thing. Like
I'm hoping there's a podcast solely on that. Like, can there be one just on that?
Like what you guys learned about your marriage on your Europe trip.
Yeah, we're planning to film that this week. I feel like we have a lot to say about that because this trip has been kind of years in the making. The last few years with COVID, we haven't gotten to do what we did, but yeah, we're big proponents of like getting away. I know you guys have done that too for your marriage.
Yeah, that was one thing that just hit me on your naughty list.
Yeah,
was spiritual getaways, a weekend where I go away and there's no phone. I take a journal, my Bible, and a book, and that's it. And and same thing for her. And I would literally journal. I mean, I never journal, and this was big time journaling for me. And when I left, I was just pouring my heart out. Lord, this is what frustrates me with myself, with my kids, with me. This is what I love. This is what I'm dreaming of. And literally right before I left, I threw it in the fireplace.
Well, he was at this backstory. Somebody told us about this Catholic retreat center that's not too far away, and we're not Catholic, but you can still go to this retreat center, and it's really cheap and nice. And so he's gone once, and I've gone once, but they have a big, nice fireplace. And he's like, I threw my journal into the fire when I left, and I was like, why? He's like, it just felt so freeing. I was like, well, do your thing, babe.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really cool. You came back really recharged from that, and I just slept the whole time I was gone. So
well, that's what Mama needed, clearly.
Yeah, totally.
Really good. I love that you mentioned, because when you first said like spiritual retreat, I assumed maybe that was like a retreat of you two together. But the fact that you said that, that's something that you each did on your own, that's, again, going back to what you said with even just like exercising your body, connecting with the Lord, like those are things on your own that help you be stronger in your marriage. Guys, those are so good.
Yeah.
You got a great naughty list.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of like,
we have so much to learn from them.
Really practical like tips.
Super practical.
Tricks.
Yeah.
All right. So we like to just ask a few rapid fire questions just to get a little bit of a view into the dynamics of your relationship. So Molly picked this question out, and I feel like it's directed at me, but who's more likely to lose their keys?
Oh, definitely me.
See,
yes,
I'm telling you, you guys are the same.
This is hilarious.
I'm telling you right now that for 2 days, I have not been able to find my cell phone. I've sent all my messages on my computer, and I kind of like that I've lost my phone, except for I need it for my homeschool thing tomorrow that I'm going to. So then I feel like I'm really going to try to find it. But that's like, yeah, there you go. It's definitely me.
Oh, that's too funny.
Because Cashmere is definitely the one to lose his keys. And
what was it on our trip that you couldn't find? Was it your wallet or was it your glasses?
Oh, well, yeah. I
There was
couldn't find my glasses for like 30 minutes.
and
keep in mind we're like traveling we've got stuff in suitcases and backpacks.
It's really not that stressful, but Molly's like, I can't find it, and I just like took this moment. I was like, it's my moment to shine.
Because I'm not kidding, I spend, this is not an exaggeration, at least an hour a week looking for his keys or his phone or his headphones.
Okay, it's super dramatic.
No, it's really not if you think about it.
But back to the important part of the story is I get up, I look, and I find it. And I just get to like do this role reversal where I'm like,
proud of yourself.
Babe, it's right here the whole time. Like, I'm so glad you have me to help you find your stuff.
You soak it in. You're like, this is what this feels like. I'm just gonna like take this in.
He was relishing in it.
I like relished in it, and you know,
that's awesome.
Maybe rubbed it in a
you
little
should.
bit.
You totally did. I was letting you have your moment too.
It was pretty great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm doing a horrible job here because we're getting on
These
tangents.
aren't rapid fires.
But okay, so who's more stubborn?
Ooh.
Who's more stubborn? Depends what time of day it is.
Yeah, I would say I'm probably more stubborn.
If he's tired and it's bedtime,
yeah, that's definitely me.
Like, yeah, I mean, he's out in a second, and you're not changing your mind about much at those hours of night. We don't always resolve conflict before we go to bed because you're just too tired. So
I pass out before my head hits the pillow.
Okay, stubborn. I don't know. I'm sure I am too, but
maybe about different things.
Not like that. Yeah, it's different things, but overall, it's me for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So who's the better gift giver?
Oh, I'm not a good gift giver. I have great gifts in my mind. Now, actually getting them out of my mind, purchasing them on time, and making sure they're actually wrapped. The Christmas stresses me out for like 3 months. I don't know.
I say only me because I have like a running note of my entire family. Whenever they mention anything, I just pull up a note and like type it in.
Yeah, that's the organized guy.
Yeah, there's the organized me. So, you know,
okay, that's pretty good, Matt. Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty good. That one kind of helps out a lot.
Yeah, I guess you get the award for that one.
I love this question. I feel like it's super weird, but I feel like it just says a lot about a relationship. So, when you use the restroom, is the door open or is the door closed?
I remember hearing this when you guys interviewed Margaret, and that cracked me up.
You go.
Well, I feel like I'm trying to lock myself in the bathroom because I don't want the kids to come. Like, I need that, like that moment. There's like fingertips underneath the door. Like, mama. I'm like, guys, a second. Give me a second. And then, what about you?
Yeah, the door is definitely closed from the kids. When each other's around, it's not so much.
I walk in on you all the time when you're like, I'm like, fine, I'll shut the door.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like in marriage, there's like a moment when the first time you're with someone and the door is open is a very big moment in your marriage that people don't talk about. It's like, oh, and especially you're not peeing? Holy moly. So that around each other, we're, mainly door open, unless, you need those other private moments.
That's so funny.
That's the closest to an open answer we've gotten so far. So far, it's like, nope, the door is shut. And we're over here like, we have zero boundaries. Like, the door is never shut. And so I'm like, this is really intriguing to hear what people's boundaries are.
Yeah, we're laughing.
That's hilarious. That's a great question.
This has been so great. Y'all have so much wisdom. Lana, like, I admire you so much as a wife and a mom, and I feel like y'all are ahead of us in your season of life, and I have seen you as someone who just has so much wisdom in the way that you approach like motherhood. I've loved getting to have this conversation with you guys to see how that plays out in your marriage, because I've seen it more like, when you share about your motherhood online. So it's been cool to hear the other side of like how your marriage is rooted in that too. But you guys are just so faithful and wise, and you have applied that to so many areas. And I've loved hearing about the ways that y'all have kind of built those disciplines to help you do those things. So thank you for
Well,
sharing
thank you.
that wisdom with
I
us
feel
here.
like I'm floundering most of the time. It feels really hard and feels like I'm floundering. So thank you for saying that, because I definitely don't feel that way. But I guess that's just the way our journey as Christians are. It's just hard, and you
Sure.
don't feel like you're
Yeah.
making much progress, and then you turn around and you're like, wow, I'm so much further along than I was, but it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it in the moment. So thanks for saying that. I mean, it definitely goes both ways. Like, so grateful to be your friend, learn stuff from you all the time. Like, I just watched your packing video and I was like, yeah, definitely would not think to pack half those things. I was like, save, like all of those things. So yeah,
Oh,
it
good.
goes both
I'm
ways.
glad it was helpful.
And now
So
you need
much.
to create like a Matt like moving spreadsheet of just like how to pack. Like,
Well,
within
She
yeah, I
did.
thought
She
about
had
that
like
when
this
I
huge checklist.
Oh,
I
do you?
know. I was
Oh,
wondering if I should make that like a free template for people, because
I
I
was
have put a
looking
lot of
for
work
the free
into my
template.
checklist.
I
Okay.
was literally
I'll have
like,
to do
I need
that.
that template. Okay, like, yes,
That's
you do
funny.
need to make that
Okay.
template. It's incredible.
I will have to do that.
that's
It
hilarious.
Yeah,
has
you
been
will.
years, like over years, crafted into a perfect
That's probably
packing
going to be
list.
your
So
best opt-in you've ever had, Molly. Like, wow.
that's
Oh.
funny.
And Matt, I
Oh,
love
we're-
just hearing like your ability to be bold and to be a leader. Like, even like going back to the start of, asking Lana out and
Lana.
Gosh. Well, I
It's
had messed up
totally
a few
fine.
times. I blame Molly for this.
No, I'm telling you, it's partially my fault, because I definitely called you Lana for a while, and it was like pretty recently that I was like, wait, her name is
It's probably
actually
because I
Lana.
didn't have the heart to correct you, because it really doesn't bother me that bad.
Well, we'll get it right.
So when MattLana,
yeah,
I think it was just cool to see how bold you were in, stating what your intentions are and like how you wanted to date her, and then just your boldness in leading out when you're saying, hey, God's calling me to a different career path, and then just financially and in unity on a weekly basis. Like, I think that is really cool to see, and I think we just need more men who are willing to step up and willing to just like lead and love their wives really well. So I thought that was
honestly,
just a really consistent theme I saw from you guys.
Totally agree. If you guys would be willing to come back, I feel like we could record a whole episode with y'all about like gender roles and stuff. You kind of like touched on some of that, Lana, with like you mentioned struggling with some of that stuff earlier on before you were married, but I feel like y'all have so much wisdom on just like the roles that you each play, and clearly you're like trying to impart that with your kids, and I would love to chat more about that at some point. But
thanks for coming on the pod. And how can our listeners stay connected with you guys?
That's you.
Well, you can find me at girlteachme.com or Girl Teach Me on YouTube. So that's another thing that's been so fun for Molly and I, is we're just like YouTube besties. Like, we're just talking all the time. And so that's really where I've been pouring a lot of my time into, is just making content, making videos, just to help moms, because I feel like I can only speak for me, but I think I'm not the only one who feels like you're home taking care of your kids and you have no clue what you're doing. You don't feel like you were trained for this. You don't feel like anybody really prepared you for this. And I feel like I've just fumbled a lot. And so I'm not trying to make people feel inadequate by showing some kind of perfectionism. I'm trying to be like, hey guys, I'm doing the best I can. This is what it looks like. Maybe you can get some ideas that will help you. So that's what I'm trying to do over on YouTube.
Yes. For anyone listening that is a wife and a mom, you absolutely need to check out Girl Teach Me and everything Lana shares. So you've done that so well. Like I said, I'm not even a mom yet, and I literally watch all your parenting videos and everything, because I'm just like, you just have so much wisdom to share, and you do it with such grace. And I know so many women are being encouraged by it. So
well, thank you.
I'm so glad that I get to cheer you on in that.
Thank you. And I'm taking Matt's his masterpiece Excel sheet, and I'm going to make it a free download on girlteachme.com, so people can just make a copy of it and then tweak it to make it their own.
Okay. I was literally going to ask you, like, Matt, can I get the hookups on your Excel spreadsheet? Because That sounds amazing. That will be so valuable for people. I cannot wait. We will totally link that in the show notes for the listeners. Definitely download that. Oh my gosh. I will absolutely be doing it myself.
Happy
You
to do
guys
it.
are the best. Thank you so much for giving us your time, and we'll totally have you back if you would come back. We
Yeah.
have so much we could chat about for another
That would be
we'd
great.
love to.
Thank you. Y'all did so good at just asking like really thoughtful questions. So glad to be on.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, guys.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us for another episode of Let's Get Knotty.
Remember to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you want more encouragement, join us on Instagram and YouTube at Knotted Marriage to check out all the other resources we have to help you build a tighter marriage. If this conversation encouraged you in any way, please consider leaving us a review on whatever platform you're listening and posting a screenshot on social media. That support means more than you know and really helps us reach more couples.
We'll see you for next week's episode. Go get naughty.